And a huge part of that, the smelling blood in the water, as Chris Finch put it after game 2, is that Jamal Murray doesn't look like the Jamal Murray we saw throughout last postseason, throughout much of this regular season. You mentioned it. The numbers are kind of glaring at this point. He was 3 for 18 from the floor in game 2. Let me pull it up here. 9 for 32 in the series, shooting 37.5% from the field and 28.6% from three-point land in the postseason. The Nuggets have been, their bread and butter Murray Jokic two-man game. Whenever they've got those two guys on the floor, they're elite. Last year during the playoffs, during the regular season, going back time immemorial, it feels like, through 2 games against Minnesota, they've been outscored by nearly 30 points per 100 possessions with those two guys on the floor. On some level, is this as simple as if Jamal Murray isn't Jamal Murray, the Nuggets aren't the Nuggets?
Absolutely. And here's the scary part about that, Dan. Let's go back all the way through this arc. In 2020, they go to the bubble. Murray has a good year. Nobody's talking about him as an all-star. Nobody's talking about him in this way. They go to the bubble, and he gets in incredible shape. You're sort of isolated in there. Players went one of 2 directions inside the bubble. We know a lot of guys just kind of burnt out or what have you. Other guys, and I think Murray is one of them, all he had to do all day was work out, sit in his room, and go to the pool. Like, that was all he could do. And it almost, in a lot of ways, brought out the best of him. And we saw him elevate to this crazy level. The Nuggets come back from 3-1 2 times. They go to the Western Conference Finals, and they lose a hard-fought 5-game series to the eventual champs. He misses the next 2 years to injury. He comes back, has a mediocre to underwhelming season. And there's some talk of, is Murray even the same guy anymore? Can he do this? He gets in great shape and has an unbelievable playoff run, and the Nuggets win a title. So, and then this year, where he had an underwhelming regular season, got injured a lot throughout the course of the season, including at the very end, and now has been atrocious in the playoffs. So in 5 years, basically the 5 prime years of this core, we talk about Jokic, Murray, Michael Porter, Michael Malone, of that core, in 5 years, he's been phenomenal in 2 of them, and they made incredible runs. He's been absent in 2 of them, and they got bounced early. And he's been atrocious in 1, and it looks like they're going to get bounced early again. So to me, I look at the overarching arc here and say, it's very clear that this is Jokic's team with a 2-man game dynamic. And if that 2-man game is not there, the Nuggets are not a great team at all. In fact, they're an extremely compromised team that got swept by the Suns, lost in 5 to the Warriors, and is down 0-2 and 2 blowout right now to the Wolves.
And Murray's, whatever his physical ailments are and whatever the challenges he's battling through, the Wolves, again, as you mentioned at the beginning, sort of deserve top marks for what they are doing to him, picking him up full court, forcing him to deal with the length and the physicality that they bring to bear early and often. Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards is the primary point of attack defender, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's been a monster coming off the bench throughout both the first 6 games of this playoff run for Minnesota. And you're seeing, there's not the burst off the dribble, but also just whenever he turns a corner, whenever he's able to shed one of those guys, there's 2 guys in his lap. It's Naz Reid meeting him at the point of attack. It's Kyle Anderson last night starting in place of Rudy Gobert, but being able to be on the help, and length everywhere. This team that Tim Connolly built, and now that that Murray's not as much of a danger knocking down, pulling up from mid-range. You don't feel you have to worry about it as much. You're able to contest those without fouling. And he hasn't been in a rhythm for a month now, more than that. Right. They're sitting on that pocket pass too in the 2-man game. And you see them getting deflections there, not able to get it through as much. So it's like the Wolves see the opportunity to defang what has been, the most dangerous play in offensive basketball for a couple of seasons. And when you take that away, what does Denver have to turn back to?
Right. 100%. That's exactly it. Is if everything starts from the 2-man game and you're able to shut off the 2-man game, well, what is the secondary thing? Nothing, because the secondary thing is stuff that comes off of that.
Right.
And nobody had been able to shut it down. The Timberwolves, here's the story though. Tim Connolly built the Nuggets. He then left in a very dramatic fashion with some very bad blood. There was some barbs on the way out thrown about, he left through the side door. He didn't do things right, this or that. There's some bad blood there. He's the only guy that I think saw the Nuggets coming. When he goes to Minnesota and you look at the landscape, you say, what kind of team do we need to build? Well, who's going to be good? The Denver Nuggets are going to be good. They have a great team, and they were missing Murray, but they're getting him back, and they're going to be good. He makes the Gobert trade, and I know everybody thought it was insane at the time, But length is the only thing, length on Jokic, multiple bodies on Jokic, bigs, has been the only thing that has slowed him down in the playoffs. That was in the bubble in 2020 with Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Anthony Davis. That three-headed monster is the only thing that's ever made Jokic look mortal in the playoffs. So you get that. And then you have another part of here. Okay, athleticism. Denver is, as long as they have Jokic, is not going to be the most athletic team. Well, he puts athleticism all over the court. And by the way, the Nuggets lose Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. I know Jeff Green doesn't get thrown in there a lot, but one thing Jeff Green is very athletic. He's a very athletic player. So Denver lost two of their most athletic players and now has a hobbled Jamal Murray and a little bit of an older Aaron Gordon and KCP who look run down. They are not athletic, and they are vulnerable now to teams who are athletic. And the third piece of this, and this is where I think Conley's genius you really see how he knew what kind of team he had to build to beat the current top dog. Murray struggles with length, and he struggles with guys that can fight through screens. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniel's already on the roster, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker, adding him to this team, has been such an important piece of why they are so good out on the perimeter. They have a three-headed monster of Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You put all of them on the court together or you cycle them through, and you're always going to have on-ball pressure. That was Murray's weakness even when he was fully healthy. Now that he's not fully healthy, he's kind of banged up. It's swarming, and it has completely decapitated the Nuggets' attack, and that's why I think the Wolves have been perfectly designed to exploit the weaknesses of Denver.